Awesome. Thanks, Madlena. And John, I heard you may have got a hug from me from a Canadian this week or last week, which is kind of funny. We went to high school together. That's how connected that world is, hey? And I didn't go to high school recently. So welcome everyone. My name is Heidi Dunstan. Many of you, if you're new, haven't seen me, but I usually run the Zoom meetings behind the scenes. And many of us, we've been on Zoom a lot for the last couple of years. I've been on Zoom for about 7 years, running my virtual assistance business. Most of my clients are not in the same city that I live in, and I'm a nomad, so I'm not always in the same city at the same time anyway. And so I've been using Zoom for a long time. I find that Zoom is a great way to connect with people, but a lot of people don't necessarily know some of the ins and outs or even some great ways to look professional on camera. And so I'm going to give you a couple of tips and tricks. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Know that when you're running events, you're wearing two hats. Oftentimes you're doing the tech behind the scenes and you're trying to share information about what you're an expert in. And so what I tend to do is take that off your plate in my business and try to make it so it's easy for you to just focus on what you do. And so, yeah, tips to look great online using Zoom. So a couple of really important things. If you're doing some big events or if you're doing some important meetings, Madeleine, are you okay to let people in? See, I'm multitasking. Awesome. Thanks. Consider restarting your computer. I know if your computer's like mine, you have the 17 tabs open and all your Word documents and your spreadsheets, and it's a great reminder, but Zoom sends updates all the time. And lo and behold, you go to start your meeting and it needs that update and your Zoom won't work or your audio won't work. So keep in mind to restart your computer. That does help. If you've got intermittent Wi-Fi issues or bandwidth issues, making sure that you're close to your router or plugged into your router is really important. If you get that yellow or red bar in the bottom that says, hey, you've got your unstable internet, turn your camera off. People need to hear you more than they need to see you. And just let them know, my internet's unstable right now. I'm turning my camera off so you can hear what I can have to say. I also tend to keep the Zoom phone number handy close to my computer. In case my Wi-Fi goes down, I can at least, if I'm making a presentation, can dial in and still carry on my presentation. And me running tech behind the scenes, it's mandatory. If you're having an event with me and I'm your tech person, I actually ask for your PowerPoint slides in advance so that if you go down, I have the ability to pull them up and we can keep them running, keep the event running without a lot of glitches. Preferably have some natural light in front of you. When in doubt, pick up a ring light from Amazon. It does really help. I'm using a ring light right now. I have the curtains closed on the side of my side wall here so it doesn't light me up. And then avoid having bright lights and windows behind you, and you'll see why in a sec. And again, I keep my computer up. I raise my computer up about 6 inches and I have my external webcam on my laptop. So I'm staring at you eye to eye, so I'm not looking down at you. For those of you that tend to use your phone or your iPad, I always call it the crotch cam. When you leave your iPad down on your lap, it looks like you're looking at your crotch. It's not pleasant. And I love the fact that some people are laughing at my jokes. Thank you. That makes it way more fun for me. And so I encourage you, if you're using it, if you only have a tablet or a device, find a way to make sure that you can raise those devices up so that you're looking at people. And you definitely, I mean, sometimes you get this where people, they show only this part of them. Try to get your shoulders involved. It gives a little bit of body language. Some people are great. They use standing desks or can stand and they're moving. It does make such a big difference. And then a couple of other things, be cognizant of your background. If you've got mom vacuuming and having a cigarette in the background, it does make a difference. A nice clean background does make a difference. I literally, I was asked to be on a summit. I have another business where I speak on grief, and they asked me to do the tech check, and I got on and the tech check guy was having a full-on cigarette while he was talking to me. And I was like, aren't you supposed to be outside for that? Like, I felt like it was impersonal, right? So be cognizant that these, even though you're on a screen, you're still in somebody's space. Avoid having bright lights behind you. And this is why, because people can't see your facial expressions and they want to see you. So having those lights in front of you can make such a big difference. And then also for me, I find laptop computer cameras are a little bit low quality. I'll give you an example. This is my camera from my laptop. And this is my external camera that cost me about $100 on Amazon. It's just a Logitech. It's nothing fancy. It can make such a big difference. And it gives me the ability, a little bit more flexibility to move the camera. And as you can see, it didn't go quite back to where I wanted it to go. But it gives me some flexibility, gives a little bit more definition and detail. And then keep in mind, Zoom has some great settings. So if you click on the little up arrow beside the start video and click on video settings, you can touch up your appearance. So I've got that on the full bore here. You know, there's no more pimples. There's all sorts of stuff. And I allow it to adjust for low light because I tend to move around a lot as a nomad. I allow the Zoom to do that settings. And if you don't have eyebrows or lipstick, Zoom actually, if you go into some of the backgrounds and filters, you can actually get fake eyebrows. If I'm feeling really up to it, I put a goatee on myself. It's fabulous. You should see me on Halloween. Some things to consider for your presentations. If you're doing a presentation on Zoom or you're having a meeting, make sure your phones are on silent. We can hear that buzz, buzz. And we know that you've glanced down and now you've lost that train of thought. Look at the camera. Don't look down at your notes. I literally had an architect on a call the other day. Her notes were over here. And so she talked like this for her presentation for 20 minutes. Ideal? Not so much to stare at somebody's. She had a beautiful ear, but it wasn't very engaging. So either have your slides or notes in front of you, but make sure that they're not in, that they're allowing you to look at that camera. And then again, like I said earlier, if your camera or your internet is unstable, turn your camera off so that they can hear you, because nobody loves the robot. And we don't love the, can you hear me now conversation? Some ways to engage with your audience. To begin with, have cameras on. And just simply ask, hey, this is like a meeting that we would in person. I'd love to be able to see you. And people do turn them on. And if you need, like if you're teaching a class, it might be like, hey, Angelina, I'd love to see your beautiful face today. And just call somebody out and see if they do it. And some people might put in the chat, my camera's not working, or I have unstable internet, or I'm on the road, whatever. At least then you know that they're there. So use the chat as well. Madlena did that earlier as we started. Hey, where are you from? Or even, what do you want to learn from today's session? There's also features within Zoom. If you set them up on the back end, you can set up polls. So I'm doing a 3-day event with Corey Poirier in a couple weeks, and he teaches people how to land talks. And we will have polls. People will submit what the title of their talk is, and we will just have a poll. Is your talk title hot or not? And they will get live feedback from the 600 people registered on whether or not their talk is hot. The title of their talk is hot. Use breakout rooms. Allow people to connect. You're going to get some breakout rooms today. You don't always have to stay in these big groups. Those little groups, you can give people a topic. They can head into a breakout room and have some conversation and meet people. How many people have used the annotate tool in Zoom? No? Let's check it out. So annotate. I do this typically if I'm doing a talk Monday morning. I say, how are you on a level of cat? And I teach people how to go to annotate. So if you go up top and to the top of your Zoom screen, you'll have a little green bar. It says you are viewing Heidi Dunstan's screen. Is that correct? If you're on a tablet or phone, it probably won't work. But if you're on a computer, click that green bar. And up top in the black bar, you'll see a pencil. And underneath it, it says annotate. Click it for me. And then click the word stamp. And choose one of the stamps and hover over one of the levels that you want to, one of the cats, and hit stamp, and your little heart will show up. So again, you're going to go annotate, stamp, choose a stamp, whether it be a heart or a star, or I've got something else coming up. Choose the heart and then click on the cat, and your little heart will show up. So Shama, click annotate. You got that? So the green bar up at the top says you are screen sharing Heidi's screen, or viewing Heidi's screen. You can just unmute and talk to me.
All I get is just the crosshair every time I go on the green bar.
Me too.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
really?
Me too.
Me
I
too.
couldn't do it.
Probably won't work while we're watching your screen.
No, it's not.
That's interesting because that must be on John's Zoom settings because I didn't check that today. So normally it would allow you to engage with people and get live feedback. So
That's fine.
I will
It's
have to
okay.
check. Okay, you guys get it. But it's a really cool way to, I even do, let me just clear all drawings. I will even, oh, just kidding, more drawings to clear. I will even sometimes, what do you like about running events? And people can type live and get feedback using the annotate tool. And so I love that feature, to be able to get people to engage and to be able to get live feedback. I actually was doing an event probably about a week ago where that's what we did. We wanted people to write answers, and instead of using the chat, we used the annotate tool so that people could see stuff live. And it was really helpful to be able to capture some of the information. These were people that were all taking a course together, and they were able to learn from each other and engage. It was a really great way to access information. A couple of other things that Zoom has is also down at the bottom, the show captions. So you actually have the ability to turn transcription on. So it'll turn on. I don't know if it's on today. It is. Yeah, I just turned it on. I don't know if it's on today. Yep. And so it'll transcribe for those that maybe are hearing impaired or that their speakers aren't working. It allows them the opportunity to be able to have the text. There's other external tools that I use in Zoom. So I think sometimes we have the Otter AI guys in our meetings. So I'll put it in the chat real quick. Otter AI is a software that you can run in behind, and it records the audio, but it will also transcribe. So if you're actually doing like a Zoom call or a podcast interview, it'll actually record the text of it. And you can maybe use that as blogs or posts in social media, things like that. So that's a great tool. Somebody just
Heidi,
asked.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, ask away.
When you're in somebody else's Zoom, do you have that ability to do that?
Do which? The Otter?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can record anything. Now, technically, like for us today, we're seeing that it's recording. Otter doesn't show that it's recording, and legally you should tell them, hey, I'm recording this and this is why. But some people do it behind the scenes and don't, just for their own use. But yeah, you can just go to Otter AI. They have a free version, and then I think it records up to 30 or 45 minutes. And then after that, it's a pay to play, pay to use it. And I think it's like 13 or 15 bucks a month. It's not super expensive. Canadian. Sorry, I'm a Canadian. So
would it be in the apps?
Yeah, you can get apps on your phone for it. I've got it on my phone, and you can have it on your computer as a website.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's one of these networking meetings that I've seen the Otter guys. Maybe it was a different one. Do they normally come, John? Yeah, they're normally here. That's what I thought. So there's some really cool tools. There's lots of great things. If you're doing why would you need Otter with Zoom? So for example, if I wanted to record this, Julia, it's a great question. I would record it, and then I'd use Otter to transcribe, and it could be a blog on my website to be able to say, hey, this is a great way to use Zoom. And I don't have to listen to it and transcribe it. The software does it. Otter isn't about 100% effective. It's probably, I say about 70, 75%, but it gives you a good concept of what's being recorded. It's also great for large meetings. I do a lot of meetings with governments, and they allow us that sometimes we need to take notes. And this gives us a little bit of a background because it is difficult to record the conversation. Zoom does do a transcription, but I haven't been able to, I don't use Zoom transcription very much. I typically will use Otter because it allows me to edit on the fly while I'm working on live on the document. I don't have to wait till it's done, which is why I find it a bit better. Maureen, how can I help?
I was the one who did ask the question, where can we find that annotate tool other than in that green bar that
none of us somehow can get access to.
So yeah, you'll see it as soon as, if you want, Maureen, I'll pop my email in the chat and feel free to email me and we can maybe set up a Zoom and I'll show you.
Oh.
I didn't realize my Zoom settings and most Zoom settings have it and I didn't check John's. That's my bad today.
Thank you so much.
I got to do that. And what I can maybe do as well is, for some follow-up notes is I'll send some screenshots of the settings that you guys need to set behind the scenes to make sure you have polls and breakout groups set up always in your Zoom account, because that's helpful. Lots of you, when you set up a Zoom in your Zoom account, it may not show the polls and breakout group button. And I'd be happy to make sure that you guys know how to do it in behind the scenes so it's always there.
Heidi, why don't you, as we are going to post this recorded presentation of you on our YouTube channel, how does it feel to you to record a short video and show people how to do that? And we are gladly posting it on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, I can do that
so
later
that
this afternoon.
we have it and people can stop and test on their own and so on.
Yeah,
So,
happy to. Yeah, and if you're having problems, I'll pop my email in the chat and I'm happy to hook up with you on Zoom for 10 minutes and make sure that you're all set to go. Oh, Keith, you're blaming John already, Keith. How can I help?
Heidi, can you address the term Zoom fatigue?
Zoom fatigue. How many people spend? I mean, I have weeks where I spend 60 hours on Zoom.
Okay, well, I'm talking about several articles that Forbes magazine has put out over the past 2 years since the pandemic. One of them, I believe, is like on August the 7th or the 13th, showing poor audio quality that I haven't heard you really address for this yet. So
Zoom fatigue is more about people. I mean, the hard part is Zoom kind of came into people's worlds recently with the start of COVID, right? And so they had to transform in how they were meeting with people. And the reality is when you worked in an office in corporate, you went from a meeting and then you went to the washroom and then you walked down here and then you went somewhere else and you got onto Zoom or went into another meeting. And sometimes you went to your office and you had time to switch over. But with the world of Zoom, it's like, how many of us were like, can we just take 3 minutes for a bio break? Right. I mean, there are times, I mean, I'm back to back. I've been back to back since 9:30 this morning, and I will be back to back until 6 o'clock tonight. And there are times that I just have to say, I need a bio break. But the other part of Zoom fatigue that Alan, right?
Yes.
Was talking about is the fact that our eyes were staring at screens all the time, which is exhausting. And it's hard on our brains, especially if it's somebody that's got like a traumatic brain injury or a head injury. And then the audio side of it, we are processing audio at a different level than we've ever had to before as well. And so it is taking a toll on our bodies because we're sitting a lot, which a lot of people say sitting is the new cancer. And it's also just taking a toll and how we have to adjust and make do. And I will have to say that I don't think it's going away. I think people have found that this is a convenient way to do this. I mean, I had a meeting probably about 1.5 years ago with one of Canada's former prime ministers, and he said, I'm never getting on a plane to go to a meeting again. He goes, I've spent so many hours in a tin can, I'm never doing it. And I agree. Many people are just not. The cost isn't there. The cost doesn't make sense and the time doesn't make sense. There are certain places and spaces where in-person meetings will be very important, especially in certain cultures, like with First Nations. It's embedded in their culture, but a lot of times now small businesses and even big businesses are just like, let's get together on Zoom. It is way better than teleconferencing, and it's helping people to advance their businesses. I can tell you, I mean, I've never physically met John, and yet my high school friend has physically met John recently, and I'm able to say, hey, can you give him a hug? And that's all because of Zoom. That never would have happened otherwise. So yeah, that was a great question. Thanks, Alan.
Well, I really feel like you hadn't addressed the issue of poor sound quality.
Yeah, that is more your alley. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, we never know. The hard part is many people run off of their laptop microphones, which aren't great, or they use the cheap headsets, which make a big difference. People investing in a little bit of equipment like a Yeti microphone or a specialized microphone. I'm sure you have a brand that you love as well, Alan, can make such a big difference. I'm running a Yeti right now. I don't know if you can see it. If I push it this way, no. My background is not gonna, it's on a boom. So, but yeah, definitely I invest in an external camera and I invest in an external mic to ensure that I've got some better quality when I travel. So I live in Mexico in the wintertime and my home there does not have carpeting, things like that. So I invest in a little bit of soundproofing to help reduce some of the reverb and making sure that I make it as best for people to hear me and listen to me as possible.
Well, yeah, for other people, but also for yourself, you need to be able to find ways of I mean, in the laboratory reports I have showing then that if you're wearing headphones that cover over the ear, then you're blocking out a higher percentage of outside environment noise pollution that can distract from your cognitive ability. And so I highly recommend for anybody else who is on any other type of digital audio video call, conferencing call, that they also invest themselves into not just the microphone and a camera, but a very good high quality set of headphones, because that will block out what is going out or coming in and outside distractions.
Yeah, I think that's a matter of what people's needs are. This presentation was about how to look good on camera and how to have a stronger Zoom presence. So I wasn't going to go down that rabbit hole, but I think your expertise in sharing is helpful. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions that I can help with? I don't want to take up too much time because I know the networking time is so imperative. I will pop my email in the chat if you have any questions. If there's a tool that you want to, if you want to check out, or if you want to see some of the things, let me know. And I'm happy to help. I love your Holistic Academy, and I love being able to help John. I think he loves the fact that I just remote into his computer and do stuff for him through Zoom. I think it's his favorite part. So I will pass that along. And that's one other thing, is that you can actually remote into somebody's computer. I often will run 2 laptops when I'm running a meeting and share my PowerPoints share PowerPoints on this other side and give people remote control access. And so they're controlling my computer from anywhere in the world, which is kind of cool. But it also allows me to control other people's computers if they allow me to. And there's my email in the chat. Thank you. So, Hans, you have a quick question for me, or is it to move us along?
How do we get onto your schedule of services? Are you fully booked as a Zoom coordinator and
my October and up to mid-November, I'm pretty much fully booked. Moving into end of November and into December is got some openings, but I am already getting bookings into March and April. So if you're looking for some support for your events, feel free to reach out. And I base my calendar typically on first come, first serve. So I can put holds in place, and I'd love to be able to support you, Hans.
Awesome.
Awesome. I will pass it back to you.